MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome back to the Big Small Business Show, and in studio with us we've had Seati Moloi. He's the founder and CEO of Khoi Africa, and they make a watch, and it gives all sorts of information, and they've turned that watch into effectively an IoT device, that Internet of Things device, which then they take that information and can visualize it and can use it for the corporate environment and for the sports environment. So your questions, Seati, were around access to market and access to funding.
Yes.
So let me try and deal with them both.
Yes.
So let's talk about the funding first. So you spoke about I'm looking for funding, I'm looking for an investor. If you're thinking about an investor, and in another hat, I am an investor. So let me tell you what's going on in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Do I want to invest in a business that's up against the big 1,000-pound gorillas like Apple and Huawei and Samsung? I don't want to have that fight. It's a fight I can't have. They've got much deeper pockets. So I'll just be throwing good money after bad money, good money after the bad, So it's not going to really work for me. But what would make me invest? What would make me invest is, number one, if you've got a niche that they don't have.
Absolutely.
If you found a niche, and we know where we're going with this. And number two, if you can show me that niche is growing and it's big enough and it's global.
Yes.
Okay. Those are the things that I would want to hear in a pitch to me to say, Allon, please invest in my business. So let's go to that. If you gave me the corporate niche versus the sports niche, my personal preference, and I've spent just only a few minutes with you, but just given that time and my experience, my personal preference would be around the sports niche. And why that is because it's a far more contained environment. You've got a team of, 16 or a team of 10 or a team of 11 or a team of 5. Your teams, these much smaller contained teams. There's also a lot of publicity that these teams get. So I'm thinking about in the future, you can talk about the so-and-so team. I'm not going to mention names, but can you imagine if Bafana were wearing this watch and using your technology and what it would do for your brand? And so I'm thinking about that. That sounds exciting. And then if you're doing it here, you can do it for another football team now recently we beat Zimbabwe, but maybe they need the watch, And so it's got far more, I think, legs in that environment. Corporate would have a lot longer sales cycle, in my opinion.
Yes.
And to get everyone, a corporate with 500 people in a building or 1,000 people in a building to buy those watches, it's a big capital investment. And from an EVP, employee value proposition, it might be too expensive for me to think about. But in a small 10 watches here and 15 watches here, it's more palatable, and the value proposition for me as a sports team is much higher.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that to me would be, if you said to me strategically, we choose a route, I would choose sports. So then it comes back to the IoT space. And the reason why I know IoT, I'm invested in an IoT business, so I understand a little bit about that, is what's the niche within there? Because what you don't want is you don't want to keep, from a development perspective, developing more and more visualization tools for different contexts all the time, because it's expensive. You want to build, you want to enhance that core thing and get it better and better and better.
Yes.
But you don't want to build this and then build this and then build this, because then you're managing 15 different visualization, effectively, products, and you're never going to finish and you're never going to get a return on investment. So once again, it's to say, what is the generic, if I can call it the generic central visualization tool that can cut across football, tennis, rugby, cricket, all the major netball, all the major hockey, all the major sports that are in South Africa today. And then even go to more niche sports, like for example, one might be maybe you can't fight with judo, or, those ones that you can't find. But you would look for those niche ones as well, because they've also got markets as well, and you want this story to tell that you've got this central piece. Now you come to me and you say to me, look at my visualization tool. I'm not a watch company. I'm an IoT company, a health IoT company.
Yes.
In fact, my value proposition is I'm a sports health IoT company. I'm not a, what did you call yourself, a something devices company? It's the wrong language, because when you language it that way, I'm going, I'm not fighting against those guys. When you tell me it in a different way, now I'm going, okay, it's a niche, it's multifaceted. I've got one product that can talk to all those things. I've got multiple inputs, and I can build out market. Now I'm interested. So before you go to market for an investor, that's where I'd go. Now access to market. I'm afraid in that particular, if we follow this thinking, it needs to be Seati up front. For me, as I launch any new product within Raizcorp, it's me that goes out knocking on doors and learning and listening to objection and listening to needs.
Yes.
So if you go out there, my view now as you start your sports journey is that it's you. It's you going and knocking on doors and saying, this is who we are. We want to talk to you. And even up front, if you have to give away 15 watches to get a brand in, to say, let's look at that data and let's see what we can do, and use it as a portfolio piece for the second and the third and the fourth opportunity, and start to get a virtuous cycle. So from a chicken and egg perspective, it's first Seati goes out and get to all these sports clubs. Then you close a few. Then you start to get your visualization tool tighter and more, let's call it generic. I want to use the word generic, that you can see it can talk to tennis, and it can talk to football, and it can talk to all these things. And then you go knock on an investor's door.
Yes.
If you go to the investor before, they'll smile at you, they'll give you tea, they'll say, thank you, we'll get back to you, and they never will. Okay, and that's probably what you've been experiencing.
Absolutely.
Everyone's nice to you, but they're not going to pull out the big dollars when they're going to fight against Apple. No one's going to do that. You've got to show them there's a niche that's growing and you're involved, and there's a single product in the center. Wow. So maybe not what you wanted to hear, but that's what you need to hear. Specialize.
Yes, absolutely. Very educational. Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Seati, for being on the show, and to our entrepreneurs out there who are in a similar situation to Seati. I hope that was food for thought for you. And do remember, if you think it, write it down and make it a reality.
Wow, thank you.
The Big Small Business Show, proudly sponsored by MTN Business.